There's obviously been so much attention to Geoffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio having these concerns about what the technology could do. How do you explain the three of you reaching these different conclusions?
Okay, so this it's a bit difficult to explain for Jeff. He had a bit of an epiphany in April where he realized that the systems that we have now are a lot smarter than he expected them to be, and he realized, you know, oh my God, we're kind of close to having systems that have human-level AI. I disagree with this completely.
They're not as smart as he thinks they are.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
One of the men that you shared the 2018 Turing Award with, Yann LeCun, who's now chief AI scientist at Meta, he says concerns about the existential risk of AI are ridiculous. He was interviewed by Business Insider in 2023 and he said, will AI take over the world? No, this is a projection of human nature on machines. Obviously, you'll have respect and knowledge of him, but what is your response to that?
Okay, so we evolved to be like we are in order to survive in the real world, particularly to survive when you're in competition with other tribes of chimpanzees or our common ancestor with chimpanzees. If AI agents ever get into competition with each other, they'll evolve in a similar way. So our nature is a result of having to survive in the world. If you have AI agents that need to survive in a world full of AI agents, they may well develop similar natures.
And he's thinking in sort of very long term and sort of abstract terms. So I can understand why he's saying what he's saying, but I just think he's wrong. And we've disagreed on things before.
Yeah,
we're good friends, but we've disagreed on this kind of questions before, on technical questions, among other things. So I don't think he's thought about the problem of existential risk and stuff like that for very long. Basically since April. I've been sort of thinking about this on a kind of philosophical, moral point of view for a long time. For Yoshua, it's different. Yoshua, I think, is more concerned about short-term risks that would be due to misuse of technology by terrorist group or people with bad intentions, and also about the motivation of the industry developing AI, which he sees as not necessarily aligned with the common good because he claims that it's motivated by profits. Okay, yeah. So that may be a bit of a kind of political slant there, that perhaps he has less trust in the democratic institutions for doing the right thing than I have.
Yes, it's interesting you talk
also,
about... Sorry, you can continue.
One of Yann's other arguments is that the good guys will always have more resources than the bad guys. So AI can always be used to control misuses of AI by the bad guys. And Yann and I haven't resolved this argument because I asked him if Mark Zuckerberg was a good guy, and he said yes.
And you don't share that opinion?
No.
Why not?
Partly because of how he's cozying up to Trump. Partly because of the things that have gone on at Meta.
What things are you talking about? And it'd be interesting to hear you broadly on this, because you're saying that politicians are going to play a key role here. And there's a very strong alliance at the moment, isn't there, really, between these tech bros, as they're called, and Trump?
Yes. They care about short-term profits. And some of them say they care about the future of humanity, but when it comes to a choice between short-term profits and the future of humanity, they're much more interested in short-term profits. And Trump clearly doesn't care at all about the future of humanity. He just cares about staying out of jail.
I've heard you say that is the distinction, that you have more faith in democracy and in institutions than they do.
I think that's the case, yeah. I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, and I don't want to misrepresent them. Ultimately, I think we have the same goal. Like we know that there's going to be a lot of benefits to AI technology, otherwise we wouldn't be working on this. And the question is, how do you do it right? Do we have to have, like, as Yoshua advocates for, some overarching multinational regulatory agency to make sure everything is safe? Should we ban open sourcing models that are potentially dangerous, but run the risk of basically, slowing down progress, slowing the dissemination of technology in the economy and society? So those are trade-offs, and like reasonable people can disagree on this.
Yeah.
Are there any areas that are safe? I mean, it seems as though AI is coming for the elites. It's coming for the creatives, for the lawyers, the educators, the doctors, the journalists, whereas the trades and the electricians and plumbers and things are possibly a bit safer for now. Would that be your view?
Yes, for now they're safer because AI is lagging behind in things like manual dexterity. If you want to do plumbing in a whole old house, you have to reach into awkward places, and AI can't do that yet. Now, it may be that there's considerable progress in the next 10 years in manual dexterity, but I think plumbing's safe for a good 10 years.
This is a wild one, but I find it fascinating. There are some people who think, even if humanity got wiped out by these machines, not a bad outcome because it would just be the natural progression of intelligence. Larry Page is apparently a famous proponent of this, according to Elon Musk. Would it be terrible if we got wiped out, or would there be some benefits because it's a form of progress?
I don't think this is something that we should think about right now, because predictions of this type that are more than, let's say, 10 years ahead are complete speculation. So, like, how our descendants will see progress or their future is not for us to decide. We have to give them the tools to do whatever they want. But I don't think it's for us to decide. We don't have the legitimacy for that. We don't know what it's going to be.
What is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is that in the long run, it'll turn out that these kind of digital beings we're creating are just a better form of intelligence than people.
And that would be a bad thing?
There are some people who think we're very self-centered to think that would be a bad thing. I think it would be a bad thing for people.
Why?
Because we'd no longer be needed.
And that's a pretty profound question that we are going to have to grapple with over the next decade, isn't it?
Yes. If you want to know what it's like not to be the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
And there's been this big push for government regulation that you have had concerns about. What are your concerns?
Okay, so there's several types of regulations, right? There is regulation of products. So if you put one of those emergency braking systems in your car, of course it's been checked by a government agency that makes sure it's safe. I mean, that has to happen, right? So you need to regulate products that are, certainly the ones that are life critical in healthcare and transportation and things like that, and probably in other areas as well. The debate is about whether research and development should be regulated. And there, I'm clearly very strongly of the opinion that it should not. The people who believe it should are people who are afraid of who claim that there is an intrinsic danger in putting the technology in the hands of essentially everyone or every technologist. And I think on the exact opposite, that it's actually a huge beneficial effect.
So what could go wrong? I mean, they call it P-doom, don't they? The probability that AI could wipe us out. On the BBC recently, I think you gave it a 10 to 20% chance. What are these scenarios? What could this look like? Is it the robot takeover of the sci-fi movies? What does this scenario look like?
If they were going to take over, it probably wouldn't look like the sci-fi. It wouldn't look like Terminator. There's so many ways they could do it. I don't want to even speculate about what way they would choose. But the question is, will they want to do it? A lot of the problem here is that people don't know what they mean by conscious. So, for example, there's a lot of people out there who are confident that these things aren't sentient. But if you ask them, well, what do you mean by sentient? They say, I don't know, but these things aren't it. And that seems to me a fairly incoherent position. And it's sad that there are so many bad uses as well as so many good uses, and that our political systems are just not in a good state to deal with this coming along now.
What's the benefit?
Well, the benefit is that we need to get AI technology to disseminate in all corners of society and the economy, because it makes people smarter, it makes people more creative, it helps people who don't necessarily have the technique to write a nicely put together piece of text or a picture or a video or music or whatever to be more creative, right? The creation tools, essentially, creation aids. It may facilitate a lot of businesses, a lot of boring, jobs that can be automated, and so it has a lot of, beneficial effects on the economy, on entertainment, all kinds of things. Making people smarter is intrinsically good. You could think of it this way. It's, may have, in the long term, the similar effect as the invention of the printing press that had the effect of making people literate and smarter and more informed. So,
and some people tried to regulate that too.
Well, that's true. Actually, the printing press was banned in the Ottoman Empire, at least for Arabic. And some people say that, like the Minister of AI of the UAE says that this contributed to the decline of the Ottoman Empire. So yeah, I mean, if you want to ban technological progress, you're taking a much bigger risk than if you favor it. You have to do it right, obviously. I mean, there are side effects of technology that you have to mitigate as much as you can, but the benefits are far overwhelm the dangers.
Well, that's right. I mean, Bill Gates said in recent days that he believes in the next decade humans won't be needed for most things in the workforce, and he uses your example of doctors. He added educators to that list. I don't know if you saw those comments, but we are talking, are we, about widespread, deep displacement in the workforce, aren't we?
That's one of the problems. Yes, that's one of the risks of AI, and in a decent society, that it would be great if AI made us much more productive. If one person could do a job that 10 people used to do by using an AI assistant, that would be great. But it's not clear that the extra goods and services created by that increase in productivity will be spread around fairly. It seems more likely that most people will lose their job and a few very rich people will get even richer.
The EU has some proposed regulation. Do you think that's the right kind?
Well, so there are good things in the proposal for that regulations, and there are things, again, when it comes to regulating research and development, and essentially making it very difficult for companies to open source their platforms, I think are very counterproductive. And in fact, the French, German, and Italian governments basically have blocked the legislation in front of the EU Parliament for that reason. They really want open source. And the reason they want open source is because imagine a future where everyone's interaction with the digital world is mediated by an AI system.
That's where we're headed.
That's where we're heading. So every one of us will have an AI assistant. Within a few months, you will have that in your smart glasses, right? You can get smart glasses from Meta, and you can talk to it. And there's an AI assistant behind it, and you can ask it questions. Eventually, it will have displays, right? So these things would be able to, I could speak French to you, and it would be automatically translated. In your glasses, you'll have subtitles, or you would hear my voice, but in English. And so, erasing barriers and stuff like that, you would be in a place, and it would, indicate where you should go, or information about the building you're looking at, or whatever, right? So we'll have intelligent assistants, living with us at all times. This will amplify our intelligence. This would be like having a human staff working for you, except they're not human, and they might be even smarter than you, but it's fine. I mean, I work with people who are smarter than me.
If you look at the European regulations, they had some regulations on AI which were quite sensible in some respects, but there's a little clause in there that says none of these regulations apply to military uses of AI. That is, none of the European arms manufacturers, like Britain, for example, wanted to be restricted in how they could use AI in weapons.
So how do you feel about this? I mean, it's almost an Oppenheimer situation, isn't it? I mean, you've helped create this technology. How do you feel about it now?
What I feel is right now, we're at a special point in history where we need to work quite hard to figure out if there's a way to deal with all the short-term bad consequences of AI, like corrupting elections, putting people out of work, cybercrimes. Like cybercrimes went up 1,200% between 2023 and 2024. and also the long-term threat of AI that it might take over. We need a lot of work done on that, and we need sensible governance led by intelligent people, and we haven't got that.
Google, who you worked for a decade or so, just this year removed a long-standing pledge not to use AI to develop weapons capable of harming people from a list of company principles that they had. What is your reaction to that, and what role could AI play in warfare?
Unfortunately, that sort of shows the company's principles were up for sale. And I think it's very sad that Google's now going to be contributing to military uses of AI. So we've seen military use of AI in Gaza already.
Yes.
And we'll see autonomous lethal weapons. We'll see swarms of drones that go and kill people, maybe people of a particular kind.